down that the Shita of Reb Lezer is that the world was nivre in Tishrei, and the Geulah Asida is going to take place in the Chodesh of Tishrei. The Maral is Masvir. Chodesh Hashvi, he says, which is Chodesh Tishrei, is different from all the months of the year. Rosh Hashanah comes out in Chodesh Tishrei. So Rosh Chodesh and Rosh Hashanah is something that's unique in this month, and it tells Avek that Tishrei is a totally different month than all the other months of the year. And he's masbir that Tishrei is doimet to the Rosh of a person. The Rosh of a person is where the person has his seichel, he has his neshama, and it's holy. The chelek harosh of a person has kedusha. And he says, in Chazal you find that the Misper Sheva is always gekaliben for kedusha. In Shonim, every seventh year is holy. Every seventh year is kodesh, it's shmita. In Yomim, every seventh day has kedusha. Seventh day is Shabbos, and Shabbos has a kedusha. And the selbe zach in Chadoshim. In Chadoshim, the seventh month is a heilige month, and that's why he says Rosh Hashanah, the Moyadim, is all take place in the seventh month of Tishrei. And he says, Vibaut, the seventh month is a holy month, so it's closer to the Eibishter. And Vibaut, it's closer to the Eibishter, so that's the Zman that the Eibishter schafft the Welt, and that's going to be the Zman that Mirz Hashem going to be Zoichet to the Geulah in their Chodesh from Chodesh Tishrei. Now we're going to explain a shtickle what it means that Shvi is Kodesh, and what that has to do with the fact that the Geulah is going to take place in this Chodesh of Kedusha in Chodesh Tishrei. There's a Torah in Hilchos Shabbos that the Torah says the Nusach HaTvila of Musaf and Shabbos is miyusid al pi Aleph Beis, but it's done in the opposite seder of the normal Aleph Beis. Normal Aleph Beis begins with Aleph Beis Gimel Dalet, and there's a second type of an Aleph Beis. That's called the Aleph Beis of Tashrak. The Aleph Beis of Tashrak is Tov, Shin, Reish, Kuf, and it goes the opposite direction. The Aleph Beis of Musaf of Tefillah Shabbos begins with the Tov backwards. Tikanto Shabbos, Ratzisa Korban Yisrael. So the way it goes is from Tov, Shin, Reish, and Kuf. So it's inverted, the Seder of the Aleph Beis. And he says the reason for that is because this Seder is Meramis on the Geulah. Tfilas Musaf of Shabbos is Meramis on the Geulah, and therefore the Aleph Beis starts from the Tov going backwards. And explains there's a pasuk in Zechariah which talks about the Geulah, and over there the pasuk says that when the Zman of Geulah is going to come, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to be Eshri Kol Lohem. And over here the pasuk says Shin Reish Kuf, and the Loshen is a Loshen of a Hefech in the Aleph Beis, and that's the pasuk that talks about the Eibishter Tzazamin and Klal Yisrael Eshri Kol Lohem V'Kapsein. So we have to understand what is the concept, what is the meaning of this, that the Aleph Beis, Dreis HaChariber, when we're referring to the Geulah, we talk about the Aleph Beis in the Seder Hofuch of Tov going backwards. Why is that so? We know the Eibishter schafft the Welt in the Oisius of Aleph Beis, with the Chof Beis Asus and the Reise. The Eibishter schafft the Welt with Torah, and he schafft it with the Aleph Beis, with the Chof Beis Asus and the Reise. Geulah is also weggestellt on the Chof Beis Asfus in the Reise, or instead of going in the same Seder that we're accustomed to in this world, Geulah is going to go around and with a totally opposite Seder of Tov Shin. And the question is, why is the Seder of Bria and the Seder of Geulah done in a totally opposite way? Bria with the Seder of, we have it of Aleph Beis, and when you're coming to the Seder of the Geulah, it's going to raise a Chariber with an opposite direction. The Beis Yosef on this tour brings a Shiboila Aleket, which the Shiboila Aleket brings it B'Shem Rashi, and he explains that the Geulah HaSida is going to be B'Schus Shabbos. We're going to be Zoicha to the Geulah B'Schus Shmir Shabbos. The Psukim in Yeshaya, Novi Yeshaya, was Menabe all about Geulah, and when he was Menabe about Geulah, he brings out that if we'll be Shomer Shabbos Kaloche, and we'll keep Shabbos the way the Rebbeinu Shalom intended Shabbos to be, then we'll be Zoicha to get the Geulah. In the pasuk where it says that if you'll keep Shabbos, V'avyoisim al har kodshi. Now what is the meaning? The pasuk says that I'll bring you, if you keep Shabbos Karo, I'll bring you back to har kodshi. What is the concept of why the pasuk uses the lashon that I'll bring you to har kodshi? So we're going to bring out how the Maral explains what the world is going to be like after the Geulah HaSida. Most people have no idea of what's going to take place. We're only going to give a small glimpse in what's going to take place after Mashiach comes, after the world is going to get Bias HaMashiach. There's a Maral in Netzach Yisrael in Perek Yud Gimel. The Maral says, why is this Golus taking so long? We're in Golus Rachmana Litzlan 2,000 years. Other Golus in Klal Yisrael have gone out of Golus in much shorter terms. And here it's coming on going and going and going, and we never seem to be getting out of Golus. How do we understand that? So Maral gives us a tremendous insight in why this Golus takes so long. It explains as follows. The difference between the world after Mashiach comes to before Mashiach is going to be such a difference. It's going to be a totally different mahus of what the world is going to be like after Mashiach to what the world is like today. It's going to be a shinu mahusi, he says, a totally different type of a world. Now he says as follows, being that it's totally different than the world that we know, it's going to need a big, long transformation until this process has to come out, and it's going to further such a long golus in order to get to that new, different world. And he says the Mashal Golus Bovel was only 70 years, because Golus Bovel was very not so much different than what it was before the Geulah, and because it wasn't such a big hevdel, therefore, it didn't take long in the Golus that we have to go out in the Golus to get to the Geulah. Golus Mitzrayim was already more of a bigger shino. There was a big drastic change. The world before Geulah and after Geulah was a totally new world. Klal Yisrael comes out, there's the Am Skula, the Am Nifcher. Klal Yisrael gets Matan Torah and all the Nisim and everything that took place throughout what Klal Yisrael got to. That was a big shino in the world of what took place after we came out of Mitzrayim. That required that Klal Yisrael has to go through, like it says in Chazal, a kur habarzel, a refinery process of 400 years in order that we should reach that matzav and that madrega, that Klal Yisrael should be rolled to go out of Mitzrayim, because it was a considerable change from the previous world that was there before we went out from Mitzrayim. But he says when you're coming to the Geulah Achroina, it's going to have no shaykhs to the world of today. It's going to be a totally different world that it has no shaykhs to what he calls our world, the world of Teva. And therefore, Vibaut, it's totally nivdal from the Olam HaTeva. It can't come fast. It has to go in a long process. That means to say that our lives, after Mashiach is going to come, it's going to change drastically in such a mos that it required a tremendous amount of going through a golus with all the nishonis and everything that Klal Yisrael had to go through in order that we should get to be rolled to get into that new world, which is called the world of Olam after Mashiach comes. Now we're going to explain a bissel. The Maharal doesn't explain to us exactly what that big chiluk is, and we're going to bring it out and explain it with more depth. There's a Tonat Ve'Eliyahu Sutta in Perek Yutes. Rashi alludes to it a little in the beginning of Parshas told us. When Yaakov and Esav were in the womb of Rivka, they had a quarrel, they had a fight. Yaakov Avinu tells Esav, you know something, there's two worlds, and one world and the other world don't have a shaykhis. There's Olam Hazeh and there's Olam Habo. And he wants to paint for him a rosy picture what Olam Hazeh is like. And he tells him, he tries to entice him that you'll have a lot of pleasures and enjoyments in this world. In this world, everybody's running after pleasure and enjoyments. It's a crazy world that runs after all kinds of pleasures and annoys in every way possible. So he tells Esav, you know, there's achila v'shti in this world. You can get good food in this world. You can get good drinks, good wines, good restaurants, good achleis, but you can enjoy yourself immensely in this world. And you know something? You could have a wife with children, with families, and you could do a lot of business, you could become rich. And he paints him a picture how geschmack it is, this world. And all the purpose was because these two worlds don't go together. You don't have Olam Hazeh and Olam Habo. It's either or. Yaakov Avinu tells Esav, you know something, what are you going to get? Olam Haba is a dry world. There's nothing in Olam Haba. There's no goof in Olam Haba. You're not going to get any pleasures, no hanos. So there's no reason for you to take Olam Haba. You know what? I'm going to be a nice person. I'm going to just take Olam Haba, and you take Olam Hazeh. And he entices Esav, and Esav falls for it. And Esav decides he's taking Olam Hazeh for his chelek, so they make a deal. Esav takes Olam Hazeh, the world of pleasures, of bodily pleasures, taivas and tainugim, and Yaakov Avinu takes Lechelkoi Olam Habo. Now this division between Yaakov and Esav stellt avek the chilek and the mahus of what Esav is and what Yaakov Avinu is. Esav takes Olam Hazeh because that's his mahus. His mahus is an ish choimer, an ish geshem, an ish taiva. His whole life was full of taivas. Chazal bring out 40 years he was son doshim mitachas baileim. The Moram Babasser brings all the shrekliche taivas that he did. That Esav was a mensch that his whole mitzias was taivas after taivas. That's the way he lived his life. And Olam Hazeh was very suiting for him, and that's exactly what he fits in. This world is the world of Esav. It's mamish sugi past for Esav, for somebody that's a person of taivas, of body, of geshem, of enjoyment, physical pleasures. That is what Esav stands for. Yaakov Avinu, as the father of Klal Yisrael, chooses for Klal Yisrael Olam Habo. That means he doesn't run after gashmias, he doesn't run after bodily pleasures, but he goes after ruchnias. He goes after kedusha, he goes after sichlias, he goes after roimamus, hecherkeit. This is what the Esav stells mit sich for, and this is what Yaakov Avinu stells mit for. And the emphasis, the Maharal in Perek Tesvav of Netzach Yisrael writes, that Am Yisrael is an ummah, it's like a hechera ummah, it's like another nation or a lot higher. It's a totally different ummah in Gamsen. The whole mahus of what a yid personifies and what a goy is totally, one has no shaykhs to the other. Olam Hazeh is the world of Umas Ha'olam, because they're an Ummah of Chomer. They have, their life revolves around Gashmias. That's what their life revolves around. Klal Yisrael, he says, is an Ummah of Tzura. Tzura means Chochmeh, Tzura means Suchlias, Tzura means Echerkeit, Roimemus. They live al pi seichel. This is how Klal Yisrael's essence really is. That Klal Yisrael is a nation like Yaakov Avinu stellt avek Anshi Tzura. Anshi Tzura means, like Rashi says in Moed Katan, Anshi Chochmeh. People that have Chochmeh who live with their seichel and live with Kedusha and Roimemus. So it's Sukkos. The Goyim, v'bal der Mahus is Geshem, Chomer. They get Olam Hazeh as their world. Meilach, he said, Yidden, that their Etzem Mahus is doing the Ratzon of Hashem, to live al pi Torah, to live al pi Seichel, to live al pi Ruchnius. So this world is not that the world of Klal Yisrael. If Klal Yisrael, the Maral says, understands what they are, and they live according to what they were supposed to live by, as Yaakov Avinu charted out for Klal Yisrael, to live a life of Ruchnius and Roimemus and Ekerkeit, no goy can have a Shlit on Klal Yisrael. It's the opposite. In the Psukim it says, U'lesitcho el yoin al kol hagoyim. Klal Yisrael, because Chomer is Mishumet Tzura. And if Tzura is acting like Tzura, so then Goyim have no power over Klal Yisrael whatsoever. Adarabah. We're shoylet on all the Umas Ha'olam in the Matzav when we are the way it was intended from Klal Yisrael, from Yaakov Avinu. Because we have no connection to their world. And if we don't have a chibur to their world, we don't go into their world and we stay away from them. Now, if we stay away from them, they see us as a totally different type of a world, a different type of a nation, and therefore we don't bother them, and they don't bother us, but they look up to us because we're Anshe Tzura, and we're Hecher mentioned, and they see that, and therefore we are shoylet on all Umas Ha'olam. This is full in Psukim and in Chazal. But the concept Zoktiv Ma'al of Golus means, when we decide that we have to follow the lifestyles of the Goy, when we figured we try to get enticed and to follow the lifestyle of the Goy to go after Gashmias, that means we come into their world. Now, Maral gives a nice lashon. It's like we're Masi Gvul. We gave them away. They're the Bailim, and we told them it's theirs. What right do we have to go into their world? And when they see that we go into their world and we start trying to also get their world of pleasure, they say, "You're Skazlani. What are you doing in our world?" So then they get angry at Klal Yisrael. Why are you joining us? And therefore we're going to rule over you because you're in our world. You know, we're the Balabatim in this world. And if you come into our world, we have a koyach to be shoylet on you because you entered the world that doesn't belong to you. You're taking from our world unjustifiably, and that's what the concept of why goyim are goyzer gzeiris. It's not a mikra, they're goyzer gzeiris, but it's rightfully so because we entered in their world shaloi ka'aloche, and we have no right to enter in their world. So they say, we're the Balabatim in this world. And we have, you gave it to us. So what right do you have now to come and steal it away from us and get the same thing that we own? So therefore they come and they're goyzer gzeiris and they're buying them on us and they totally control us. So that's the concept of Golus. The concept of Golus, the Maral explains, is when we lose our identity as Anshe Tzura, we do not live up to that level of what Tzura means. Tzura means that you negate Olam Hazeh. Yaakov Avinu gave it away. That means the Chomer is bottle and toffel and to the ganzen to the neshama. And if you can't live at that elevated level, then Klal Yisrael does not merit to be in Eretz Yisrael. They don't merit to be in a Mokum Kodesh and live a holy life because we're not living up to what a Klal Yisrael really was intended for, and therefore we come and we become kofuf and meshubit, and they're shoyled on us, because then we've entered their world of Olam Hazeh. So the concept of Geulah is when we get into the world of the Goy, and we don't understand who we are, and we don't understand we'll say, I'll go into the world of the Goy, but I'll be higher than them, I'll be better than them. That's not what a Yid is. A Yid is a totally different type of a Bria. A Yid is an Ish Surah. His world is not this world. This is not for him to enjoy, and it's not for him given for enjoyment, because his life is supposed to Telz it for a life of Hecherkeit, a life of Kedusha, of Yeroimimus. There's Rav Yitzchok, in one of his Maimorim, he says, you can't imagine how much Geulah affected the Yid. We can see it much more than what Rav Yitzchok, the Mashgiach, was talking over 100 years ago. But he said a sharp philosophy in one of his Maimorim. He said there's nothing Yiddish left in a Yid. Nothing Yiddish left in a Yid. We took everything away from the Goy. So he says, what does that mean? We have Hecherkeit, but we got the value system of a Goy that Olam Hazeh became so choshev by us. We're so concerned about getting Olam Hazeh and taking as much Olam Hazeh as we can get. That hashkafa of that taking Olam Hazeh is treifi chazer, because that's not what a Yid is all about. A Ben Sayer Moira, the Ebenezer writes, is killed. Why? Because he doesn't understand that this world is not our world, and he wants to gain out of Olam Hazeh. So he wants Olam Hazeh is his value system, and that's what happened. He says before we went into Geulah that we lowered our hasogis and our and Geulah is supposed to refine us and see. Look what happens when you go after Olam Hazeh. Look how nidrik a boy looks. Look how terrible he is. Such a Reitzeach, such an Achsed, such a Noyev, such a whatever you want. But we don't change and we don't look at that. And we get instead we get pulled in, and then we start making pleasures and excursions and places where you can make enjoyment in Olam Hazeh, in Bein Hazman, in Indusman, in whatever not, restaurants and all kinds of enjoyments. Where's it coming from? That's not a Yiddish life. That's only coming because we followed the value system of the Goy, and we became shakua in Olam Hazeh. Geulah Zok Moral is when we're going to take ourselves out of this world. We're going to take us out of the world of the Goy, and we're going to come to a world that is our world instead of the world of the Goy. The Rebbeinu Shalom is going to take us a Goy mitoich Goy, because we've put ourselves together with the Goy and made ourselves kilu that we have a kasher and the shaykhs to the Goy. And the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to take us out and pick us up, and that's going to be Geulah. Now the Maharal says a Meir Dikazach. We shouldn't think that Geulah is just going to be that we're going to be Nisroimen in our Gvaltike Madreges of Kedusha. That's not what it is. That is something that you could live in this world, because Be'emes in this world, Klal Yisrael is supposed to be an Ad Levod Yeshiv. Klal Yisrael is supposed to live differently than all the Umas Olam, but we're still living in this world because it's their world, Olam Hazeh, and we're in their world, but we're not going and taking away. We're not Masi Gvul. That's the way it was intended. It was intended that Am Levorad Yishkoin. And if we live in Am Levorad Yishkoin and we don't mix with the Goy, and we know that the Goy and me are two different entities, so then you don't go in Geulah, and then they emulate you, they look up to you, and they look at that. Geulah Zok Moral is going to be a totally new world. It's not going to have any shaykhs to the world that we know today. It's going to be a new world in Gansa, not just Am Levorad Yeshiv. No, it's going to be a totally new world. The Maharal says this is brought out in Yeshaya. In the Psukim in Yeshaya it says, Ki hineni boirei shamayim chadoshim ve'eretz chadosha. This is going on Geulah. I'm going to create a new world. a new Shemayim and a new Oretz. It's going to be a totally different world. So you won't even look at it and see the connection of this world and the world of after Mashiach. The world after Mashiach is going to be a totally different world, like a bechina of a new Bria, of a Shemayim Chadosha and an Eretz Chadosha. And he explains, when we talk about Geulah Roiner, it's not just that we're going to be much more elevated and refined, but we're going to get into a new world. This world is brought out in the Rambam and Hilchos Malachim and the Rambam and Hilchos Tshuva. The Rambam writes in Hilchos Malachim that the Chachmei Yisrael and the Nevi'im had a tremendous taiva to get to Yemois HaMashiach. Why were they aspiring? The Rambam writes, Loma hisavu hachachomim v'anevim kol kach limois HaMashiach. Why were they looking forward to Yemois HaMashiach? So Rambam says it wasn't because the Goyim shouldn't rule over us. It wasn't even that we should rule over the Goyim. And not that they should pick us up on a pedestal. And not that we should have freedom to do whatever we want and have enjoyments of life and not be governed, and we can do whatever we want. We can eat and drink and have simcha. In order we should be free to learn Torah and Chochmah as we please. In Hilchos Tshuvos, the Rambam was moisif, in this world today, Goyim do not like to let us learn Torah and do mitzvahs. We're constantly suffering with Gzeiras on Ashir in America and in Europe and in Eretz Yisrael. They're all Geiser Gzeiras against Yidden that we can't sit and learn. They make all kinds of shverikayten for every mitzvah. You can't build a shul, you can't build a mikveh. The land of freedom, America, the land of freedom. Every religion has freedom, and the only one that doesn't is a Yid. The only one that doesn't have freedom in this world is a Yid. Anytime you want to build a Beis Medrash, is it Kriyas Yamsuf to build a Beis Medrash, to build a shul? It's Noyer V'Oyim, how much you have to work and work and work to get to do that, to make a mikveh, to make whatever you want. Anything Ruchnias, they're always fighting. That's what you call a land of freedom. No, it's not a land of freedom. You know why? Because we've entered their world. And when you enter their world, they're balabatim over you, and they decided that you don't deserve any freedom. Every nation, yeah, because they're a nation like us. But you are not our nation, and you have no shaykhs to us. So what are you doing in my property? What are you entering you're trespassing, and you're going in and you're gosling from me. So they rightfully don't allow Yidden. It's so difficult, and we're fighting in New York, in every state. We fight against them. They're fighting religion in every way possible. Rachmana litzlan, what they're trying we're up against. But we're going to have something, Rambam, a peaceful time, and v'yirbu b'chochmeh, and we're going to be able to get to such levels of chochmeh that will make us road to get to Olam Haba. So the world of after Mashiach is really the Rambam, the world that gets us into what Olam Haba is about. So the Rambam writes as in those days, the Das and the Chochmeh will be so much different than the Chochmeh in the world today. In those days, you know what's going to be Shoilet? What's going to be the Balabas in the world? Chochmeh and Das is going to be the one thing that's going to be Shoilet and overtake the world. Like the Novi says, we say it, but we don't know what we're saying. Molo Horetz Deyo Es Hashem. The whole world is going to be full with Das of Hashem. Oilam Yimoli B'das Hashem. And it's not the world that we recognize. Today's world is a world that everybody's fighting, one nation with another, to get another piece of land, to get another country, another building, another whatever it wants, to get money. But in that world of after Mashiach, there's not going to be any wars, any quarrels. Nobody's going to be interested in Olam Hazeh. It's going to be so abundant. You're going to have your needs. You won't have to do anything. Nobody's going to have to be busy to do parnoseh because it's going to be there automatically. It's going to be present. But you know what's going to happen in that world? Besides, there's not going to be Shibud Malchus, there's no Yetzirah, zok the Rambam. The Ramban writes this in Nitzavim. The Yetzirah is geschochten for Yemois HaMashiach. Before Mashiach is going to come, the Eibishter is going to shech the Yetzirah. These are the two primary enemies of Yiddishkeit. The Gemara tells us every Yid, his Pintele Yid wants to do Rotzen Hashem, but two things doesn't allow him to do it: Shibud Malchias and Yetzirah. And when it's going to come the time of Mashiach, those two things are going to dissipate. They're going to disappear. No Yetzirah, no Shibud Malchias. You're going to be able to live without these Ma'akrim and these Moinim. Now, the Rambam writes some fascinating things about what's going to happen after Mashiach comes. He says the Melech HaMashiach that's going to get up when Mashiach comes, he's going to have more Chochmah than Shlomo HaMelech. The wisest person that we know is Shlomo HaMelech, and it says in the Novi that nobody had the Chochmah of Novi of Shlomo HaMelech, but the Melech HaMashiach, Zok the Rambam, is going to be a greater Chochem than Shlomo HaMelech. His level of nevuah, the Rambam writes, is going to be kimat like Moshe Rabbeinu. Not like Moshe Rabbeinu, but almost like a Novi, like we're going to get back nevuah, and there's so many dargas in nevuah, and the Melech HaMashiach, besides that he's going to be the greatest chochem that we ever had, he's going to be so big of a nevuah. This is what he's going to be. And he's going to teach Klal Yisrael, v'yalamed es kol ha'om, v'yoyre oisam derech Hashem. He's going to be the one that teaches and spreads Torah, Emunah, Chochmah, Ruchnius, Kedusha, everything you want, Midas Toivus, is all going to come forth from the Melech HaMashiach. And the Rambam writes in Hilchos Malachim that the whole world, all we're going to be busy with is Ruchnius. Nobody else is going to, you're not going to do anything else. All you're going to do, V'loye eise kol ha'olam elo ladas es Hashem lovat. Nobody's going to be busy doing any parnasa. Everybody's just going to be a reingeton in Ruchnius and ladas Hashem. Ulefichoch, Yiu Yisrael chachomim gdoilim. And everybody in Klal Yisrael will be such Talmidei Chachomim, not stam. Chachomim Gdoilim, v'yoidim dvorim astumim. They're going to know all the secrets of Torah, the soidus of Torah, of Yasigu Das Boirim, and they'll get such asogas about the Eibishter, kifi koyach ha'odom. As much as it's humanly possible, after Mashiach comes, we're going to change totally. We're going to be so holy and so immersed in Kedusha and Torah and Ruchnius that we'll get to such levels of Chochmah that we never ever possible to get. But it's only in that time and period. Kimolo it's Deus Hashem Kimayim Layom Lechasim. Mayim Layom Lechasim is Meramis to Soidus HaTorah. It's hidden. It's covered over like the Yam. Torah has so many dvaltikim madregas of Chochmah that are hidden from us today, Soidus HaTorah, and there we're going to get to such heiche dvaltikim musogim that never anybody ever reached, and this is going to all of Klal Yisrael, but it's even more than that. When Mashiach comes, the Rambam says a fascinating thing in Hilchos Megillah. The Rambam says we're going to lose all the Sifrei HaNevi'im v'Aksuvim. Today we have Chof Dalet Sifrei Kodesh. We have the 5 Chalokim of Chamisha Chumshei Torah, and then we have 19 more Sporim in together in Nevi'im and Ksuvim. The Rambam says when Mashiach comes, we're not going to have any more of the Sifrei Nevi'im and Ksuvim. Now this seems so strange. What does that mean? We're going to lose the Sifrei Nevi'im and Ksuvim? It's Torah. How is it possible that something that's Torah is going to get lost when Mashiach comes and we're not going to have any more of those Sforim of Nevi'im and Ksuvim? But the answer is as follows. It's not that we're not going to have them, but we're going to know it all from learning the Torah. There's a Gemara in Tainus that explains that everything that's written in the Nevi'im and Ksuvim is be'emes merumas in the Torah. Ein dover b'ksuvim shein aromus b'Torah. Rashi says, Hachumesh hu yisoid nevi'im u'ksuvim u'bekulam yesh lismoich and find the smach min ha-Torah. Today, we're not at a level of chokhmah that we should be able to understand and see in the Torah how all these things are written in the Torah and to understand how it leaks in the Torah. But being in Yemos HaMashiach, we're going to be such chachomim gdolim that we could understand all the soidas ha-Torah. We're going to get to such levels of chokhmah in Torah that we're going to be able to learn it all in the Torah. We're going to be able to get to all the soidas ha-Torah, not just the level of an aleph base, like we're learning the tzlach rights in a place that in this world what we learn, our level is so minimal. It's like learning aleph base. When you learned aleph base, so when you were a child, you thought that's the end. I have Eineklach that come in Tamol to me and they see, Zaidi, what are you doing? Oh, they see I have a Gemara open and they point to the aleph. He says, Zaidi, I also know the aleph. And and yesterday I even know the base. Zaidi, why are you spending so much time learning aleph base? I don't spend so much time, and I'm watching you and I see you constantly learning aleph base. Can I explain my Einikol that what Torah is all about? He can't even be massy what I'm doing, because his level of sasogas is so little that Tzlach says that's exactly what we are in this world. Our levels is like small children, and we think we know, we understand Torah. Our level of Torah is mamish b'chinas aleph beis. Yeah, this world was created with oasis of aleph beis, and that's exactly how much we get to in this world. Hope in the world to come, the Havana, the Hasogis, the Chokhmah that we're going to get is going to be so great. It's going to be a totally different Torah than what we're learning today. And we're going to get to see so much sinus in the Torah, and it's not going to be necessary to have Nevi'im Uksuvim in order to get to know, to get more and more of Chokhmas HaTorah, because you're going to be able to get it. You know what you do on B'Shem the Goyen? When the Goyen reached the age of 40, he learned everything from the Torah. He did not learn anything besides Torah. He was able to go back to the Torah and find everything in the Torah, how all the droshes of Chazal and everything that Chazal saw, he saw it because the Goyen's level of Chokhmah was so great that he was able to see so much in the Torah without having to go and learn everything else. That's going to be what we're going to be like. Everybody, when it comes Mashiach, is going to be at such a level of Chokhmah that it won't necessitate for us to have Sifrei Nevi'im Uksuvim, because it's all merumas in the Torah. If your level of intellect, if your level of Chokhmah, and your level of Das is so much more, you're going to see so much more in the Torah. Now, there's a totally other new concept of what Mashiach's world is going to be. It's not just that our world is going to change totally. The Goy's world is also going to change totally. And the reason for that is because the world is going to be our world. Olam Hazeh is the world of the Goy. And the world of the Goy is a Geshem world. So there's so much level of sosum, of chokhmah, because the world, the mahus of the world, is a Gashmias world, which puts everything else covered up, and we can't get. The chomer disturbs the person in getting to the chokhmas HaTorah. The world of Olam Haba, the world of Mashiach, is going to be the world of the Yid. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be our world. And being that it's our world, it's going to be a change. It's going to be, instead of an Olam Geshem, it's going to be an Olam Ruchni. It's going to be an Olam Tzura. It's going to be an Olam of Kedusha. And it's going to be such a holy Heichet type of a world, to such a degree that even the Goyim that are living, they're going to be living in our world instead of we living in their world when we go in Geulah. Geulah is the pshat. It's going to transfer, mamish the opposite. Instead of that us being in their world, they are now going to enter in our world. And because they're going to enter after Mashiach into our world, they're also going to live in a world of Ruchnias. Their values are going to change. They're also not going to be busy fighting. They're not going to be busy getting parnosa. They're not going to be busy getting olam hazeh and pleasures. They're also going to live a life of ruchnius. They're not going to be on the dark of Klal Yisrael because the world is ours, and we have the essence of being so much different than a goy. But Lamaisa, the fact that they're going to be in the world of a ruchniistic world, the whole world is going to change over, and they themselves are going to be learning Das and Chochmah D'Boshel. And this is brought out in the Rambam in a few places. The Rambam writes, Melech HaMashiach Yelamed es kol ha'olam. The Melech HaMashiach is going to teach Chochmah to the whole world. All of them are going to also get to Seidas HaChochmah. The Rambam says that all the Goyim, he brings Psukim in Yeshaya, that when Mashiach comes, the whole world is going to flock to the Beis HaMikdash. They're going to run there to get Kedusha, to get Chochmah. They're going to see what they missed. There's a small Gemara in Eruvin that the minute Mashiach comes, all the Goyim are going to run to Klal Yisrael and says, I want to serve you. I want to have the Sukkos of being Mishamish you as such a holy nation. I realize what's the truth, and I realize what's important, and I realize what's Kedusha and what's Ruchnius, and I see your greatness. And that's going to happen when Mashiach comes, and the whole world is going to be busy. The outlook on the world is going to change because the world is going to change. Because the world, instead of being a world of Geshem, it's going to be a world of Ruchnius, of Kedusha, and that's what's going to happen to the world. So Klal Yisrael is going to enter their own world, a world of Roimavus, a world of Hechakite, and all the Umas are going to be living in our world instead of we're going to be living in their world. This is the concept of what, and Goyim are going to look up to us. Goyim are going to realize how choshev we are, and they're going to strive and be marich chochmeh, but they're not going to be able to get to our level of chochmeh because their mahus is still not our mahus. But we have the koyach to get to such tremendous heights of this. This is the concept of what it means that the Aleph Beis has changed. This world is the world of Aleph Beis. That's the world that we're in today, because this world is an olam of Geshem. So even though the Rebbeinu Shalom created a world of Klal Yisrael, but he put it and gave the Hester of Umas Olam, and right in the Bria there's Dalet Malachim, and that Soyu v'Voyu v'Choshech al Pnei Soin, the Rebbeinu Shalom created this world, that it's the world of the Goy. And about it's the world of the Goy, it turned out that the world is a world of Geshem, and because of that, that stuns us and doesn't allow us, even if we don't follow the whole lifestyle of them, and we don't go down, but we're still in the maxim of a world that doesn't belong to us, which tampers and makes our level of chokhmah so minimal in comparative to what we are bekoyach to get if we would be in that ideal world, which would be an olam of ruchnius. There's a total reverse. Tikanto Shabbos Ratzisa Korban Yisrael is inverting the whole Seder Olam. It's not an Aleph Beis world. Oh, it's a world of Seidas. You have to learn Aleph Beis from Tov Shin Reish Kuf. You have to learn Seidas there. You're not so fluent in that because it's deep. And that Aleph Beis is a deep Aleph Beis. It's the same Chof Beis Asus and their Isa. But it's such a deeper Aleph Beis that you're going to be able to go delve into such deep machshavas and on that. That is what's going to happen, and that's why it's going to take so long to get to that transformation, because it's like the Novi says, Shamayim Chadoshe and Oretz Chadoshe, because it's going to be a totally nifta world. Now we're going to give you a Maral Zasogi and Havon and what the Shabbos means. Shabbos is the seventh day of the week, but Shabbos is different than every other day of the week. Shabbos is moved off from the other 6 days of the week. Now there's a Gemara in Shabbos in Kufin Tes. The Gemara says as follows: when a person is Mekabel Shabbos and he says Vayichulu, steht in the Gemara Shnei Malachi Ashoris Melavim Es Adam, and they put their hands on his head. Manichin Yideihem Al Roshoi V'oimim Loi, and they tell him V'sor Avoinoch V'chatosach Techuper. Now that you've entered Shabbos, all your avoinas disappear. They're going to go away. and your chatoim get a kapor. So when a person goes into Shabbos, he has the power to get rid of all his chatoim and get a kapor on all his chatoim. Now, how do you understand something like that? Because you're Mekabel Shabbos, therefore your avoidance disappear. Maharal is a beautiful, beautiful pshat. And he says, what's the concept? The Malachi Ashors put their hands on your head. It says the two Malachi Ashors, when you're Mekabel Shabbos, they put their hands on your head. He says what it means is as follows. There's two parts to the body of a person. There's the guf and there's the Rosh. And the guf and the Rosh have mamish no shaychus one to the other. They're two separate entities in a person. Your body is Geshem. Your body is Tyrus. Your body wants Olam Hazeh. Your body wants pleasures. That's the mitzvahs of your body. Your Rosh is totally different because your Rosh has your neshama in the head. Your seichel's in the head. And it's totally removed from your choimer, Zot Maharal. Shabbos is that bechin of Rosh. Shabbos is the concept, it's like the head of a person. What it means is, it's a day that's menutik from choimer. And that's why Shabbos is compared to the head of a person, and that's what the Malachi Ashars put their head. Now he says it as follows. The Gemara says in Mesivta Shabbos, Hakol moedim b'Shabbos nitne Torah l'Yisrael. Hashem gave the Torah to Klal Yisrael on Shabbos. Why did he give the Torah on Shabbos? Because the Torah, which is the shleimus of the seichel of a person, is given to a person who's in Shabbos, which is a mitzias of Rosh, a mitzias of seichel, a mitzias of shomer. So Shabbos, because it's menuktik from chomer, that's the day of Matan Torah. And then the Maharal brings a beautiful evidence in Rashis. The Rebbeinu Shalom bends Shabbos, and then when he bends Shabbos up to the Maharal, it says in Ebenezer, he gave us a neshama, an extra neshama on Shabbos. Everybody gets an extra neshama if he lives up to the type of Shabbos that we're talking about. So we know that on Shabbos a person gets a neshama yisera. What is the idea of a neshama yisera? Zok the Maharal, our seichel becomes totally different on Shabbos than in the regular days of the week. Hashem gives you a neshama yisera. Your neshama yisera is in your seichel, in your Rosh. That means Hashem changes the Rosh of a person on Shabbos. He takes you and elevates you and transforms you now that you have a neshama yisera and because of that you get so much hasogas in Ruchnias and Torah than you have the rest of the week. It's your dua. In Zohar state that every person when he comes back after Shabbos comes up Lamala, the Rebbeinu Shalom asks you, Ma chidesh chidashtem b'Shabbos? Did you get to deeper sasogas in Torah? Because you had a neshama yisera state in Zohar. And if I gave you a neshama yisera, that was to get to the secrets and deepness of Torah, which you could not get to normally. Shabbos, the neshama yisera, the Arizal, Kiyodua, used to learn Shabbos totally different than he learned in the rest of the week. In the first 6 days, he lived like Al Derech, like we learned in the Chelek HaNikla. And when he came to Shabbos, he delved into the Chelek HaNister of Torah. And that's what the day of Shabbos is, that you have an ability to get to such levels of Chochmah that you cannot get a whole week. And that's because Shabbos, you got a neshama yisera. And you got a neshama yisera, your seichel. There was a ma'aseh with a person that every Shabbos, he grew a head taller. He grew a head taller, and it was a fascinating sight because his neshama yisera took over into such a degree that he totally, his choice changed, and that's what it's supposed to be by every person. That's the maus of Shabbos. So the Maharal explains that's why you get kaporas avoinus. He says, what's the inyan of chet? Chet is when you're nimshich boser guf, when you're nimshich boser choimer, when you're nimshich boser taivas. But if Shabbos, you can take yourself and live with Kedusha Shabbos, the way Shabbos was intended, so then you take yourself out of the world of Choimer. You take yourself out of the world of Chet because you now became a Ruchnistika person. You became a new person. And you're not the same person who sinned. So if you're not the same person who sinned, so you get a kapori, he says, on your chatoim. So two Malachi Ashores put their hands on your Rosh, and because of that, you get a kapori, because they signify, if you're Mekabel Shabbos Kaloche, and you're going to live a tremendous Ruchnius Dika Shabbos, then you're going to be Zoichet to the Kedusha of Shabbos that's going to take you out of the Olam HaChomer. Now, the Goyin in Ateros Eliol takes from the last figure. And the Goyin says that in Shabbos, everything a person does is supposed to be Ruchnius. And he says even the Achila V'Shtiyah that a person eats on Shabbos is B'Bchinas Korbonis. It's not a regular Achila on Shabbos. It's like a getter of Achilas Korbonis. And it's coming for you. Your kavonis, he says, has to be that you're eating that stam for taivas anos guf. No, you have to eat l'shem shamayim that you're eating here, because it's a concept that everything you do in this world on Shabbos is supposed to be ruchnis. And he says something interesting. He says in the 6 days of Bria, every day was called Toiv. At the end of the 6 days, it says that Raya Hashem is kol asher osav v'ni Toiv moed. 7th day of Shabbos is not called Toiv. Now, what is the way we refer to Shabbos? Shabbos is called, we mentioned in our davening, Chemdas Hayomim Kroi Elitzur. Shabbos is not called Toiv. Shabbos is called Chemda. Now, the Goyin writes, the word Nechmod is 6 times the gematria of Toiv. Toiv, the gematria is 17, and Nechmod is 102. And he says because the ruchnius of Geschmack that you're supposed to take out on Shabbos is 6 times what you take out on a regular day of a Tainu Gashmi. In the regular day that you're busy with doing the Tainugim of Gashmias, when it comes to Shabbos, you change. Also, the Targum says, is the Chomit. Rashi brings this in Sefer Oire, that the day of Shabbos is a day of Chemda. It's a day that's totally, nothing in that day is Gashmias, it's totally Ruchnias. Now if your day takes on that type of a Shabbos, so then it becomes a Mesulik from Chet and from all these things. Now, there's a lot of levels in Shabbos, and if a guy just falls into Shabbos, his Shabbos will never be like that. It requires that you should be shoyev to turn it into a Ruchni's day. You have to prepare a whole week stating Chazal for Shabbos. A person should spend time in preparing himself. What am I going to do on my Shabbos? Am I going to learn a lot of Torah on Shabbos? Am I going to have chavusas on Shabbos? Am I going to go to Shurim on Shabbos? Am I going to spend and teach Torah to my families on the Shabbos table? How am I concerned about in my week? You're supposed to think about Shabbos, the Ramban says, a whole week, and prepare yourself properly for Shabbos. If you prepare yourself for Shabbos, the more you prepare, the more your Shabbos will have Kedusha in it, and it will be that type of a Shabbos that we're talking about. Now we're just going to share you one of the Zmiros. The Zmiros are beautiful, fascinating Zmiros in Shabbos. We're just going to expound on one little Zemer in Shabbos, and that's the Zemer of Baruch Kel Elyon. In the Zemer of Baruch Kel Elyon we say, Chemdas Hayomim Kro Elitzur. The day of Shabbos, the Rebbeinu Shalom called it, the Boirei Ditzur of the Elomim called it Chemdas Hayomim. What does that mean, Chemdas Yom? We continue to say, V'ashrei l'smimi mini anotzer. If you're going to treasure it, and you're going to know how to utilize it, and you're going to know how to get the most out of Shabbos, you're going to make it a special day. Keser hilumim al roisham yotzer. You're going to wear a crown of jewels, of treasures. You're going to wear a crown on your head on Shabbos. Every person has the ability to wear the crown. What kind of crown do you wear on Shabbos? The answer is because we say afterwards that Dei chochma l'nafshecha. See how much chochma you can get into your nefesh. See how much chochma, instead of living up to your time, as Rav Yitzchok writes in Parshas Nosai, a Nozer who makes himself Kodesh, he took himself out of his Taivas Aguf and he made himself a Ruchni, a Sichlistika person. And because of that, he wears a Nezer L'kov al Roishoy, the Nezer, the crown. If Chochmeh, a crown on the head symbolizes Chochmeh. Shabbos is Dmei Chochma L'Nafshecha V'Ti Kesel L'Roshecha. This is going to be your crown. You can turn Shabbos into day that you crown yourself with a crown of Chochmah. If you prepare yourself properly for Shabbos and you understand what the school of Shabbos is and what you can get through Shabbos, the more you try and get out of Shabbos, that is the Shabbos that we're talking about. Shabbos is that a person should turn into a siklistic person. He shouldn't let himself be governed by his taivas that schlep you down, nor should be ruchnius. He should remind himself that my life revolves around my Shabbos. Shabbos is supposed to bring a bracha into the whole week. How does Shabbos bring a bracha? Because if a person the whole week is thinking about Shabbos, so he prepares himself, he lives more ruchnius in the week. Because he's busy thinking all about ruchnius and he gets more appreciation and more chashivas to it. So Shabbos instead, it's not an isolated day. What Shabbos is supposed to do is to help you to pick up all your week, that your week should be a tremendous choshev of Shabbos, and it should be a Shabbos of Yisroel to go out of your taivas, and the Shabbos is supposed to mashpia. This is what Chazal meant, B'schus Shabbos, we're going to be Zoichet to Geulah. Shabbos is the Yesod of Rosh. That's what Shabbos is. Just like Chi is the concept of the Real of Rosh. It's the month of Kedusha, the month of Sichlius, the month that you take yourself out of Taivas, out of Geshem, out of Chomer. No, you make your life values, my Neshomeh, my Seichel, my Chochmeh, my Ruchnius. That is Shvi. That is what the concept of 7 is. 7 is the day, 7 is the month, 7 is the year. These are all Zmanim of Kedusha. What it means is, like the Maharal says, Tishrei is considered like Rosh. That's why Rosh Hashanah is there. Rosh Hashanah is a day of elevation, of Bria, of concept, of Hecherkeit, of Kedusha, of Ruchnius. This is that month. Same is true with Shabbos. So if you keep Shabbos the way it was intended, to be a Shabbos of Rosh, that you're menatik yourself from Chomer totally, then you could be Zoichet to get to the Geulah. This is the concept of what it means that Shabbos is Mesugel to get to Kedusha. Shabbos is Mesugel to get to the new world, which is a totally different world. Now I'm going to share with you a Yaris Dvash. The Yaris Dvash comes along and says, this is the Heilig Ketumim, he says as follows. In our davening, we daven about Yerushalayim. And he says, when you say Yerushalayim ircha, berachmim toshuv, v'sishchoim b'soicha kasher dibart, and then you continue that you want to have Moshiach, esemach dovin avdecha mehiras atzmiach, he said you should cry bitterly. A person, when he says these two brachas in Shmoneh Esrei, the Shalayim Ircha and a Semach David, he should say, he should be moirid moyes mein afugis, that we should get back Yerushalayim, because this is the Tachlis HaShleim Shalom. If we don't have, he says, Yerushalayim, and Malchus ben David, listen to his words, Loma lonu chayim, we have no reason to live. Our life today is not real life. We think it's real life because we don't know what real life is all about. But the life of Olam Hazeh, Zokti Yavit, Zokti Yaris Dvash, is not really life. And he says as follows. When we're going to be Zoichet to Geulah, the Shinu is going to be so great that we're going to see back and we're going to see that what we thought was life was only a dream. Now what's a dream? When a person has a dream, he thinks it's real. He thinks whatever happens in the dream is real. But then when he wakes up, he sees it's nothing. It was a fake. It was a farce. It wasn't a real life. He thought that was life, but that's not life. He says, this is what it says, Shir HaMaylos B'Shuv Hashem Yeshivas Si Eloheinu K'Chomi. Radak says, look back at what you lived in this world, and you're seeing you never really lived. You are basically in a dream. The whole life that you were in Olam Hazeh, everybody's life, and Olam Hazeh is like a dream. Now listen to what the Yaris Dvash explains, what's the concept of a dream. He says as follows, Shina is 1/60th of Misa. The Gemara in Bracha says that when you're asleep, it's like you're dead. It's 1/60th of being dead. I had an Elter Zaidi that never went to sleep. And they asked him, why doesn't he go to sleep? He says, well, do I want to kill myself? If Shina is Echad Mishishi B'Misa, so I would want to put myself to death. So he never went to sleep. So sometimes he would chop a dremel and he would fall their eye and soft. But he never would want to kill himself. Shina is Echad Mishishim of Misa. Zokte Yaris Dvash, Shishim of this world is 1/60th of what the world's going to be like after Mashiach comes. After Mashiach comes, the difference of the life, of what's alive and what's not alive, is what this world is in comparison to the world after Mashiach comes. After Mashiach comes, it's going to be 60 times greater. And you have to understand that you're not really living in this world. This is not true life, Zakti Yaris Mash. True life is going to be the life after Mashiach comes, because everything is imagined 60 times more than whatever you could possibly get to in this world, because it's like a dream compared to real life. We have to understand that this is not the true world. When we'll come back and build the Beis Hamikdash and we'll get Malchus Beis David and the Shechina will beat for us, we have to recognize it's going to be a totally different world. And if we would understand that, we wouldn't be happy being in Geulah. We'd be so sad being in Geulah, and we'd be davening and pleading and screaming and trying to get out of this terrible Geulah that we're in, that we don't have any chelik. We have who wants to learn Aleph Beis all their life? I don't want to learn Aleph Beis all my life. I don't want to be sleeping all my life. You want to be sleeping all your life? You want to get 1/60th of what you could possibly get after Mashiach is going to come? Who wants to do that? So Chazal tell us a person should constantly daven for the Geulah. And when he says the Shioscha Kivinu Kol Hayoim, he should think, I can't wait. What's the Shioscha Kivinu Kol Hayoim? I'm so impatient every second. I can't wait. I can't wait for the Yeshua. And Chazal tell us that when we're going to come upstairs, they're going to ask you one of the first questions, Tzipisa Yeshua. You know what Tzipisa Yeshua means? I'm so impatient. I was so, I had such a time to get to Mashiach. I wanted to go out of Geulah. I understood it's not a life. That's what the Shioscha Kivinu Kol Hayoim means. That I'm not alive, and nobody wants to be dead. So who wants to be dead? So you don't want to be dead. So you want to get out. So that's what you should be thinking, and that's what you should daven. The Mesil Shishoim writes, Kol Odom Tzorech Litztayer Tomid Ala Golus Vala Churban. Everybody should have tzar on the Golus and on the Churban. Ulispalo Tomid Al Gulos and Shaliso. You should be constantly davening for the Geulah. Vashovis Kvoit Shemayim L'Mekoyim. We should get back the Kovit Shemayim. Today, the Kovit Shemayim is stepped upon, the Rachmana Litzlan, by Umas Ha'olam and by everybody. And the person who says, don't think, who am I to daven for the Geulah? Who am I, a small person that daven for the Geulah? Is I'm going to cause the Geulah to come for my tefillas? Zok the Mesil Shishoim, Ei Lachshiv Kach. You should not think like that. Because the Gemara tells us in Sanhedrin, Lefichoch Nivra Odom Yechidi. Hashem created a person, one person in this whole big universe, one Odom. Why? To teach you that one person could say, Bishvili Nivra Oilam, and you have a koyach to bring the Geulah. There's a few Targum Yoineses that speaks out this Yisrael. That one solitary person, we don't know who it is and when it is and how, but one person, it might be you and it might be me and it might be somebody else, one person can bring the Geulah. And the Mesil Shishoim says, when Klal Yisrael begs for the Geulah, the Rebbeinu Shem has such a nachas ruach that his children is trying to be concerned about getting back the Kovit Shemayim. We have to show the Rebbeinu Shem how much we want Geulah, how much we want to go to the Geulah, out of Geulah, how much we want to get to the true world. We want to get to the Olam Chodosh. These are our tefillas, and this is what we should be busy with. When we come to Tefillas, Musaf, and Shabbos, we should get to understanding that the world is going to be a different world entirely. It's going to go and turn around. Instead of being the Olam of the Goy, and we're living in the world of the Goy, it's going to be the Olam of Yisrael, and the Goy is living in our world, And that's why the world is going to change totally. It's going to be, instead of an Olam Geshem, it's going to be an Olam of Tzura, an Olam of Hecherkeit, and even the Goy is going to understand that. And this is where we're holding today. Today we're holding our Safa Geulah. We're on the threshold of Geulah. And Ribono Shel Olam is begging us. All the Gdolim are all telling us, we should know that Hashem this is the Simonim of Ikvus and the Mashiach. Hashem says, Kindalach, I want to bring the Geulah, but you're not letting me bring the Geulah. We need you to understand that you have to live a life of Ruchnius, not to be engrossed in Gashmias and Olam Hazeh. This is not the way to get to Geulah. The way to get to Geulah is to be a Heilige Folk, to be a folk of Kedusha, to understand that we're not the world of the Goy. We're supposed to be separate and value Ruchnius and want to get to the real world. This is how we have to live in such a way in order for this to get. And like the Chofetz Chaim, you would say, we have to beg for it. If we beg and cry for it, that's what we see from Chazal will help us take us out of Golas. There's a fascinating Mabit, the whole parak that he talks about Tefillah ala Geulah. The Mabit writes, you're davening for Geulah, and you can think, who am I? Manach vierdike generations couldn't bring Mashiach, how could I bring Mashiach? And he explains, no, because all the tefillahs that people said in the Meshech HaDoros never got lost. They're all there, and they all have the power to help us bring Mashiach. We're just adding, and it gives more together with the old tefillahs, and that's what makes our chiyuv. We have to get a certain amount of bakoshes and tefillahs and tsar for the Geulah. When we'll get to that level, up to Mabit, then we'll get it. So he writes, it's our choiv and our schus. Our world of today has a chiyuv more than every other door to daven for the Geulah, because we are more b'shayich to bring the Geulah. And besides that, we have to realize it's our schus that we were given. If we don't, it's a tviyah he writes on us. Let us really understand what our obligation is. What does the Ribono Shel Olam want from us? The Ribono Shel Olam wants that we should really, truly feel that we want the Kovod HaShechina to come back. We want to get to this new world of Ruchnius. We want to get to the world of a world that's our world, a world that will be able to get to such dargas in Kedusha, in Ruchnius, and the Kovod Shemayim will be there, and the whole world will change. It'll be Molor's Deus Hashem K'myayin K'mam Echasim. Let us realize we're still standing in Chodesh Tishrei, and this is the month that's Mesugel for Geulah. If we pour our hearts out, and we tell the Ribono Shel Olam, I'm dead without Moshiach. And I want to live. I don't want to be in a life of dreams. I want to be in real life. Dan be'ez Hashem v'shmizoicha b'korv to be as Mashiach Tzidkenu b'mheir v'yonei. Amen.
I'd like to give a big Yeshivas to Rosh Shlit for the gewaldige share. Rosh gives a new meaning of Kol Echsreif Noyam Shabbos, and it's going to be Shir Chodesh Kol Echsreif Noyam Yimoysa Mashiach. Yeshikoyach. Moyim Mincha. With Hashem tomorrow by Felder Shlit at 12 o'clock.